https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: https://www.southboroughtown.com, remote meetings. However, try getting in that way, not happening. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. There. So we are called to order. First order of business, to approve the minutes from July and November. So let us start first with the July minutes. Has everyone had a chance to see them?
Yep.
Yes.
All righty. So I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Right here, a second.
Seconded.
All righty.
Second.
Roll call. Ms. Deans-Rowe,
Yes.
Ms. Battles,
Yes.
Ms. Pfaff.
I think I should abstain since I wasn't at that meeting.
All righty.
Amy, if you read them, you're allowed to vote on minutes.
I don't
Even if
think
you
I don't think I have received a copy of them, so I haven't read them, so I'd like to abstain.
That's fine. Mr. Blaschke,
Approved.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So that is 5 with 1 abstention. Okay, the November minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read those minutes?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second?
All righty. The roll call. Ms. Deans-Rowe,
Yes.
Ms. Battles,
Yes.
Ms. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mr. Blaschke,
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
and Mr. Weisson votes aye. So that is 6-0, and the minutes are approved. Who is supposed to be sending these minutes to the town hall? Because they had called me requesting all these minutes previously. Is there some procedure? I'm happy to do it.
It's
I
usually
had been,
recording
I
service.
was sending them
Okay.
previously. I sent the ones, we approved all the summer ones at the last meeting.
Yep. Okay.
They weren't ready to send before that approval, and I sent them.
Okay. And so we do we just send those to Amy Berry?
Yes.
Okay.
Meetings at Town of Southborough.
Okay. Oh, at the meetings account?
It's the meetings account, yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so I will send those off to the meetings account. Dean, would you remind me to do that just to make sure that I do?
Yes.
Okay. 45 Highland Street. Did you all have a chance to look at the material I sent you yesterday? Let me just give you a little bit of the backstory as I understand it. So the current owner seemed to be perfectly willing to rebuild the house that was accidentally demolished. They've hired an architect who has submitted the plans to us, which I sent you. I've looked over them. It seems a pretty fair replica with a few quibbles, which we can talk about in a bit, of the house that was there. The only thing that I've asked or will ask for is to see the old structure superimposed on the new structure so that we can make sure that the scale is the same, because that's the one thing that's not clear from these elevations. What has happened is that the Board of Selectmen has asked us to work with Aldo and the building commissioner to get this thing put back together again. And so we were given the right of approval over the exteriors of this house. Obviously the interiors in the back are none of our concern. There are, however, issues here that are not apparently evident from these plans. The first is we don't have a certified plot plan, which is, or at least we didn't when we looked at this. So we don't know where this house actually sits on this lot. Secondly, because it was totally demolished, it's no longer grandfathered into the various zoning exemptions that it had. The previous house sat right on the lot line, for instance. I don't know if you've had a chance to go by there, but the foundation is actually a solid piece of stone. It's literally built on ledge. Because there's no house there, it now has to conform to existing septic regulations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what I thought we would do is, look over this, see if you guys are in general agreement that this looks pretty much like the house that was there. And then bounce this back to the building commissioner and say, hey, when these folks get final permitting review and permissions from all these people, because they may not be able to build this house back on this site this way. Don't know. They may have to go in front of the ZBA. There's 1,000 things that are there. So what I thought would be that we would just give over kind of a yes, general yay. We're generally in agreement. And once you get these permitting issues resolved and are ready to proceed, come back to us, and then we'll give final approval over the facades and make any little changes that we see. That's sort of where we left it with the building inspector. I just thought it was not a relevant idea to waste time with this now, considering that we may not be actually looking at this structure by the end of the time period.
Right. I seem to remember, Michael, it's a fairly narrow lot. If they were already too close to the property line, it's going to be difficult to.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of potential problems. Ledge, I mean, this all goes as to why you don't tear down an historic house accidentally or not in Southborough, because you're now subject to every modern regulation. You're no longer grandfathered in for anything. So this is, becoming a really big, issue. So, yeah, I mean, I had a few little quirks on this. I think it actually should be clapboard. They're calling for vinyl siding. I think I would choose to have the windows 6/6 as they probably were. Again, that's not a major issue one way or the other. I think it's small things. This looks pretty much like the house. It has its dormer. It has the side little porch thing. I just want to make sure that it's not bigger than it was originally. I don't see how it could be on this lot, frankly, but anyway. So I guess that's it. So I guess the question is, first of all, does anyone else have any comments, suggestions, thoughts on this process?
This is a curiosity, because it's built on the lot line. If they don't get approval to build it on the lot line, I imagine the current setback requirements would apply. Can the house look similar to what it was if they move it over to meet the setback requirements, or does it have to get narrowed?
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough room to move it over.
That's what
again, because and that's why I didn't want us to get involved in this. This is all a building commissioner, zoning board of appeals, board of health. That's all. This is all their gig. So when they can find a place to put this footprint, they should come back to us, and then we'll make whatever final recommendations that we can. I certainly hope this house can be rebuilt on this lot in this format.
So maybe I agree with the idea. I think it makes a whole lot of sense just to, as you said, push it back and say, well, we're happy to review it if they've got the permits lined up and they have a way to go forward on the construction. But maybe with a note, Michael, that says something about we would hope to see the house maintain the same ratios, facade ratios, if at all possible, even if it has to move further back from the set line of the lot line.
Yeah, I mean, I think my intention was to just write Lori Lively exactly what we said here today, which was we have an overall agreement that this is the right direction. Come back to us when all this, all the details are settled out. and we'll have some final recommendations on, you know, some of the cosmetics, well, also how it sits to the street, et cetera, when they finally figure out where they can put it back. So anyway, fortunately, there was a picture of this house because that is the only way this this actually got reconstructed. So thank you, Historic House Survey. Hooray! Anyway.
I have a quick question about this project.
Yep.
Do you know what the timeline is? Are they being held to the 2-year penalty for the unpermitted or, you know, unallowed demolition, or is this moving forward, you know, now?
This is moving forward now.
Okay.
This is, as to my understanding, this is in lieu of the 2-year penalty, is to putting back
Okay.
the house exactly as it was.
Got it. Okay.
Which is obviously a very expensive proposition. So again, a cautionary tale to folks who may be thinking about demolishing historic houses in Southborough, not a good idea.
Got it. Thank you.
Without a permit. So yeah, this is in lieu of this, which was an attempt to, so I guess in the end of the day, the decision was made higher up that the greater good was served by having the house replaced rather than duking it out in litigation to potentially have some other kind of house with some other owner. So I'm guessing, I don't know that for sure, but so that's what we have. So does anyone else have any questions, concerns, thoughts on this process? All right, well then I would entertain a motion to do exactly what we just described, which is to write Lori a note saying that we have tentative approval of this, pending the rest of the permissions and zoning requirements being fulfilled, and that they should come to us one more time before the building permit is issued. Does that sound about right?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. So there we go. So Ms. Deans Rowe, Ms. Battles,
Yes.
Ms. Pfaff,
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
Mr. Blaschke.
Yes.
All righty. And Mr. Wyson says yes. So 6-0, and that's passed. I asked Karen to join us at 6:30. I'm thinking that this might take a little longer. So what I would like to do.
Hey, Michael, you skipped number 2 on the agenda, so maybe we can go back.
Oh, I did. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, just moved right over that. Yes, organizational changes. Well, then that'll take up the time and see. It was a master stroke, you know, making sure we got
It was planned that way, wasn't it?
Yes. Okay. So election of a vice chair. I keep trying to nominate everybody here, but no one's. So I'm nominating again Ms. Deans Rowe to be the vice chair here of the Southborough Historical Commission. Is she not?
Second that nomination.
Okay. Do we hear that? She's nodding up and down? Okay. Finally, we can get her back in the saddle here. All right, so that requires a vote, and you can vote for yourselves. I just looked this up in Robert's rules. So Ms. Deans Rowe. Yes, you're on mute, dear, by the way. Mr. Wyson says aye. Ms. Battles.
Yes.
Ms. Pfaff.
Yes.
Ms. Gleason.
Yes.
Mr. Blaschke.
Yes.
6-0. She's back at the helm. This is actually kind of an important thing because there are certain things that if for some reason I was gone or whatever, that only the vice chair can actually do legally. So that's it. I haven't gotten any word on the secretary thing. I will ask Jim Haggerty. I keep forgetting.
Well, when we get to it, I'm not on the agenda for treasurer stuff, but at the end, when there's business properly before the board, other business, I can talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Did you want me to always put you on
Yes,
the?
please.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know you read anything.
Quit leaving me off. Yes. Yeah. So I have a little update because I did meet with Brian Valentine and stuff. So
Okay. All
we
right.
can
Fine.
talk about it at the end. I'll be
Very
brief, I promise.
Okay. So I also wanted to propose to you this idea of actually having us form as sort of like cabinet members. We've already kind of doing this already, but I kind of wanted to sort of assign everybody a brief to think about kind of looking at the other town boards and commissions and reporting back to us, things that might be of interest. Annie's already there officially with the CPC as a member. And so I think that would be her brief. Amanda wants to take a bit of time off, so that's fine. Kate's already at the planning board, so I thought maybe you could be our planning board reporter to see if there's business of interest. The reason
I'm also at master plan and I'm also at Shopsy, so I can fill you in on all those.
Okay, good. And I thought maybe Ms. Deans Rowe would like to peer into open space and trails and see what kind of is just going on there. The reason I'm asking this question is that Marty Healy asked to speak to me a month or so ago, starting with the 45 Highland thing and about other stuff. And one of the things I mentioned to him was, oh, I know. He told me that there's this town marker. Maybe you guys knew something about this. Might have happened during the interregnum. There's a town 1930s marker that was a Massachusetts tercentenary marker. Have you seen those 1630 markers around the state? And it stood on Main Street.
Yes.
And it was for the Garrison House on Gilmore Road. Now, why it was on Main Street, I don't know, but it was talking about the Garrison House on Gilmore Road. And this has obviously been perking around both the Board of Selectmen and, oh, by the way, Jim, you get the, I forgot about you. You get the building department and the Board of Selectmen.
I was going to bring that up in case you didn't come around. That's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. I forgot about you. So he says to me, oh, by the way, you may have heard that we have this monument that we don't know what to do with, and there may be some issues with it because it references the Indian attacks and it might not be culturally sensitive. So, that was the first I'd heard of it. And there are also issues with, trails and trying to do this historical trail around, the center of town.
Yep.
Open space is doing some interesting things. I still would like to try to push forward this idea of doing a joint magazine with various organizations, historical and all this stuff, a joint conservation statement, whatever we call it. So I think it would just be advisable to have people kind of looking and just keeping an eye on those things and saying, hey, we're here to help you. If you have any questions for us or anything we can do, or if there's some thing that's coming down the road that you think that we need to report on, et cetera, et cetera. Just sort of like a cabinet. So, you can all be Minister of Open Space, Minister of CPC, Minister of the Board of Selectmen. It sounds crazy, but I actually think that, trying to break out of these silos we have here in Southborough about, all these boards and commissions doing things absolutely within their own sphere without talking to each other is bonkers. Because I think we have a lot to share with some of these other folks, especially the groups that are in types of conservation issues.
Michael, may I say something?
Yes.
So I know that Jim attended one of the joint Board of Selectmen meetings that there've been quite a few of recently. Jim, I apologize. I've been taking the minutes for all of them. So which one you attended is a bit of a blur.
About a month ago.
Yeah, so there have been quite a few with, it's been with planning, EDC, Master Plan Committee, Shopsy about the downtown initiative bylaw. So, and I know that Jim attended one and participated a little bit. So that would be, that's a great example that a lot of the groups are coming together and meeting fairly regularly and having great conversations about the downtown bylaw. So I do take the minutes for those. I don't necessarily attend them all live, but it might be something that when they come up, somebody from historical might want to attend live.
Well, in all fairness, they did ask us for comments on that.
Yes, and they did note that there were comments added, I believe, into the comment matrix.
Yeah, I didn't add any, simply because I thought the discussion was premature.
Yeah.
Simply because no one has informed me about how they were going to get any type of septic or any type of waste disposal in those areas.
Right.
So, you can plan pie in the sky for building down there, but if you can't dispose of the waste, there's not going to be any building.
Now,
are
they're doing a lot of work on trying to establish that, but nothing has been. solid.
exactly. So it just seemed to me a little, early in the day. There's talk of things like hooking up to Framingham and all sorts of other interesting issues. But that being said, I just think, so if you guys can just cast your eyes over there and we'll leave a meeting, an agenda slot on this, each meeting. So if you have something to add, and you can just pop up and say, hey,
Well, at minimum, like I said, I don't necessarily attend them all live, but I take the minutes for them, so I'll be able to at least give some feedback on some of those.
Absolutely. I mean, just to, so that we know what's going on.
You bet.
I had another.
Michael,
Go ahead.
sorry, would it be preferred that I attend to all the Board of Selectmen meetings as part of this role, or only when they're talking about something relevant like downtown?
I think, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, those folks, they were still going. They went from 6 to like 11, not too many nights ago. God bless them all. So no, I wouldn't put that on you, Jim. But
I will make it a point to review the agenda and make sure.
Exactly.
That's going to be relevant. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. If you can review the agenda and see if something's coming on down the road, that would be great. Because they've also asked us to be more reportive to them, and we're happy to do that. But we need to know what's going on. So, and we functioned fairly insularly all this time. Okay, let's see here. I don't see Karen in the waiting room, so let us move on to what's something easy. Oh, none of these are really easy. How about moving on with, unless I hear objection, to number 7, to approve the CPC projects for the townhouse and the flag school. Is that fine for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 2 projects in front of us that require historical commission approval. The language for these is very specific. Dean, I sent it to you. And if it isn't this language, it comes back to us like 12 times. So we want to make sure that it is exactly this language. So I'm just going to read these to you. And then we're going to ask for a motion to vote on them exactly it is. And so what we're doing is essentially voting our approval for the townhouse project, and it has a very long name, which I have to reference correctly. Do we know what that name is?
Yeah, it's the Southborough Townhouse Exterior Preservation and Restoration Project.
Okay, let's see if I can remember.
Because Annie, you did send the summaries of these applications, so I presume these are written up as the way they'll be submitted once we approve it here.
Yeah, well, these have already been sent to the CPC. So what we need to do is just, we have to send them this language, a letter, and the minutes for each one of these things. So I'm going to start first with the townhouse one. Okay. On this 10th of December, the Southborough Historical Commission took the following vote. Motion. The Southborough Historical Commission determines that Annie, what is that? Give me the title again.
The Southborough Townhouse Exterior Preservation and Restoration Project.
Okay. Oops, sorry, I did this wrong. Okay, you're gonna have to chime in again when I call you. All right. First of all, okay, so we have to first of all vote for the building's historical significance, because I don't think it's on the state register. Okay, so on this 10th of December, 2020, the Southborough Historical Commission took the following vote. Motion, the Southborough Historical Commission determines that the Southborough Townhouse is significant in the history, architecture, and culture of Southborough. Okay, that's the motion. Do I hear?
So moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Vote. So on the cultural significance or historic significance of the townhouse, Rebecca.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Michael, yes. Okay, so that's townhouse history taken care of. Okay, so now the second one for the townhouse. On this, the 20th December 2020, the Southborough Historical Commission took the following vote. Motion, the Southborough Historical Commission has reviewed the town of Southborough's CPA application for, Annie hit it,
The Southborough Townhouse Exterior Preservation and Restoration Project.
great. And we support the project as described in the application. Okay,
So Michael, just two points here. Should we
Yes.
say that it was John Parent's application? He's technically the person who submitted it on behalf of the town. Do you think that matters?
no, I don't think that matters.
Okay.
Although we can double our money here by simply saying
Has reviewed John Parent's
the
application.
application. Yeah, I think it would
Submitted
be
by.
the application of the town of Southborough submitted by John Parent.
And I would add for the amount of $2,238,284.
Uh,
Because there could be some, because when you look at the spreadsheet and that, they have various parts of the work that are broken out. I realize it says that total amount on the application, but it would help to be explicit to say for the full amount.
Gosh.
They don't require us to say that, and if we say something they don't require us to say, then they're going to send us back. So
Yeah, it has to be
All right.
precise.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, Dean, someone can email you this language. so
I already
that-
did.
Oh, okay.
I already did. I thought of that one. I thought I may have forgotten Kate on the agenda.
I mean,
But I did.
somebody who takes the motion is really nice.
I did get Dean. Okay. So that's the, yep,
Oh,
Annie.
sorry. One more thing about the motion. So the copy I have says that we support the project as described in the application for the following reasons. And then our commission is welcome to give as many or as few reasons as we see fit. But I do think we should have something there.
I was hoping that we could just end with as described in the
Okay.
application.
Yeah, that's fine. Fine.
Simply because we've already, gone through all the rationale for this on
Okay.
previous time. If
Yeah.
they require me to write up something about the reasons,
Okay.
I
We'll
can
do that next time.
Yeah, exactly. I can do that.
Okay.
But hopefully that for all the reasons we've already stated in our past minutes. I don't think that'll fly, but we'll see. Okay, so that's the motion before us. Do I hear someone to propose it?
So moved.
Okay, Annie proposes a second.
Second,
Okay, Rebecca,
yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Wyson votes aye. Okay, so that is the townhouse taken care of. The second project is the proposal from Southborough Historical Society to spend a certain sum of money, I think it's $9,100, to have an assessment of the building's exterior. That project's already been detailed. Rebecca has presented it to the CPC. I think did we talk about this previously?
The museum's exterior you talking about?
Yeah, so did we talk about this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
If it happened, it was before I was on the commission.
All right, so just very briefly, we had talked earlier about potentially replacing the windows and doing some other urgent work on the building because the windows don't actually close. They're locked in place, they're painted in place, partially open, they're stuffed with insulation. The paint's starting to peel, we have some deterioration issues, et cetera, et cetera. The building nothing's been done on the exterior of that building since 1999. So, and it's painted the wrong color. It's definitely never was supposed to be white. It was supposed to have some two-tone color. All the pictures show that with the coining, the squares on the front and the back being picked out, and the trim being picked out in a darker color and a lighter color for the body. It's also missing all its shutters. It would have had full-length shutters on all the windows. And we had talked about going to get some money to do some of that stuff ad hoc. And then when we spoke to, I always forget that lovely lady's name, Lynn, who's doing the architects, who's doing
The library
and the townhouse. I thought to myself, this is crazy. We should call them in for an assessment, get the original paint colors to figure out what they actually were, to try to figure out what type of shutters should be put up, new composite, what to do about these windows, whether they should be replaced, whether they should be preserved, should they have storms, if so, what kind, and to identify other issues with the exterior of that building. She's so funny. She said, "Can we get rid of those lanterns?" I said, "Listen, that's the only light we have." It's like, and then, anyway. So that's how this came about, and I think it is very much money well spent, because instead of then just wandering around doing stuff ad hoc, we can develop a plan. They're going to do all the exteriors. They're going to do a comprehensive plan for the building, and then we'll approach the project piece by piece to get the structure taken care of. Because it's a shame, or would be a shame, that we would start to lose the exterior after we just spent all this money on the interior. So with that being said, the first thing to do is to make a motion on the historical nature of the Flag Road School. So here we go. On the 20th of December 2020, the Southborough Historical Commission took the following vote. Motion: Southborough Historical Commission determines that the Flag Road Schoolhouse is significant in the history, architecture, and culture of the town of Southborough.
So moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second? Second. Rebecca?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Wyson says yes, so 6-0. Motion 2. On the 10th of December 2020, the Southborough Historical Commission took the following vote. Motion: the Southborough Historical Commission has reviewed the Southborough Historical Society's CPA application for the, what is it actually called?
I'm muted. I think it's called the Southborough History Museum Condition Assessment.
Okay, the Southborough History Museum Condition Assessment, and we support the project as described in the application. And the reasons for that are actually described in the application. That is the motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
That's second.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
And Wyson votes yes. That's 6-0. Okay, so that bit of housekeeping is taken care of. Now let's see. Karen Connell is here. So
Michael, I'm sorry, may I make just a very quick comment on the schoolhouse project before you move?
Oh yeah, sure.
One of the issues that was raised when I submitted it was about, Andrew Mills said that they had already given money to work on that building fairly recently, but he recalled repairing systems, replacing
Air conditioning.
a number of things, which is quite different from what we're asking for money for. But he wasn't sure if the CPC could fund the same building twice. And he was going to get back to me on that. So, and I also pointed out that we weren't asking for funding to do the work, even we were asking for an assessment. So
well, they already have funded that twice because they actually funded it back in 2007. So
right,
I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah.
But yes, I can call over to Andrew and see. And Freddie's working as a consultant, so we can ask her too.
I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
In front of that meeting on the 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll give him a shout.
And you guys are you coming back on the 17th to kind of represent or, answer more questions with the CPC?
I guess so. I just got a request notice.
It would be helpful if you can join, Michael.
Yeah, it seems like they have some questions on, in addition to what Rebecca mentioned, those concerns, questions about maintenance versus preservation.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that they'll probably want to talk in more detail with the committee next week.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll do. Okay. 17th. Is that the day? Jim. John Parent asked. Are they? Annie, when is John going back?
He might be coming back next week as well. We haven't been sent the whole schedule. We just know that everyone, all the applications are coming back another time.
I see. Okay, because John Parent had asked that we actually stick our nose in, and I was going to nominate you, Jim, to stick your nose into that. But if I'm going to be there anyway with Rebecca, then I guess it's fine.
All right, thanks. Let me know if you need anything. I'm back on the 15th.
Oh, where are you going? Somewhere fun?
I've been in Belfast for the last
It's
month.
somewhere fun right now.
Oh, you're still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. God, the modern wonders of modern technology. What time is it? It's like 1 a.m. there.
It's pushing 11:45.
Okay, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
So Michael, as the CPC liaison, is there anything, more specific that I can do to, as you say, stick my nose in to the townhouse project?
Well, I think it would be wise to read, thoroughly through the proposal if you haven't already, and as well as what we're proposing. I think he doesn't want it to get stalled. They've come so far on this, we're totally supportive, having come a complete 360 over the years with this new technology. So, it's just, the issue with this townhouse and with everything else is that the history of Southborough is to stall the renovation and preservation of these buildings to the point where they start to collapse, like the library. And then it costs 5 times more. So what we're trying to do is be proactive in this, especially with the museum, so that we're not in the position in 5 years' time of coming back and saying, hey,
Right.
I think we can get someone to paint the building. I don't think that's the problem. It's just what colors. We can probably do the fundraising for it through the society, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll have that conversation with them when the time comes. Okay, so I see Karen is here. Hello, Karen. Can she come to the fore here, Mr. Town of Southborough?
We can allow her. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Oh God, you guys are so good at this. Okay.
It's a multi-talented group, really.
I'm telling you. I see Sam's out there. Hello, Sam. We can bring you to the floor too. Karen, are you with us? I don't hear anything. Karen,
I'm asking her to start.
I'm here.
video.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, let me see if I can.
There you are.
Okay. Can you see me?
I can. You can see you. So Karen's with us solo because her sister can't be here tonight. She emailed me, so that's totally fine. Okay, so I sent the plans out. So tell us the story.
Tell you the story. In terms of what, Michael?
Well, just in terms of what the idea was, what you were thinking. Unless you just want us to start. I mean, you can go either way. Oh, she's frozen.
So this is the house that we hope to build. It's the same concept, the same design that I've been talking about all along. It's a pretty standard historical house. originally here. And my architect,
Oops, Karen, we're having trouble.
after we had come up with that design. So that, can you hear me okay?
No, no,
yeah.
you're breaking up.
Or what you can't.
Oops.
Karen, you're cutting in and out. If you could get closer to your router maybe at the house, that would make a better connection.
Alternatively, maybe she could just use audio.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I just, so everyone can see, I've just shared the screen of the schematics. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Karen, can you say again what you had just said, please?
Sure. So the house it's almost an exact replication of the original house with of course, the original house didn't have a garage in that location. It had a barn in the back. This house has an attached garage and it's taller. But other than that, of course, you're just concerned with the exterior. The interior and the exterior are the exact replications of the original house that I've already forgotten his name, Moses Newton built. So I have two architects, one of them that did this drawing, and he did this drawing and then once it was completed, my other architect whose expertise is in historical preservation found pictures of the original house. What you're looking at is would have been here the only the main portion of the house. What here are in the rear of the house, and that actually wasn't built. Yeah,
Karen, you're breaking up again. I'm having huge trouble to hear you. Can everyone else hear her? No.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Is it possible? Is there a phone number she could just phone in? Oops, no. Have we lost her totally? Yes, I think we have.
Give me a moment. I'll put the phone number in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why this isn't working.
Karen, we're going to give you a phone number to
Can
call
you hear
in.
me?
We've lost her.
This is ridiculous.
Karen, we're going to give you a phone number.
Can you
to call
email
in.
me a phone number? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, what is okay. Okay. Okay, there she is. Okay, so stop share. Okay, where's the chat? We don't have the number yet, do we?
What, are you able to hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you now, but it's
Okay.
just cutting in and out. We're going to give you a phone number. You can just call in and it'll be over the phone.
Thank you.
We're just paused for that, I think.
Well, why can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. If you want to keep going. But if we lose too much more, then we're going to have to.
Okay.
So when you say the architect found pictures of the house, what pictures?
I don't know. I didn't ask her. It was pictures of the original house that was here.
So,
So this house, the one that I reside in, there's two portions of it that we've talked about. There's the main house that was built by, I always forget his name, the builder. And then
Moses.
like, okay, then 70 years later, there was an addition put on, and another, I don't know, 40 years later, more additions. So the original home is what we're going to replicate. I say replicate, but really what I'm doing is I'm taking the same format and the same outline. It is a taller house, but it uses the same foundation, the same footprint. And as a matter of fact, it has the same interior layout. Of course, you're not concerned with the interior, concerned with the facade. So we're preserving the facade. And although I'd like to move the house back, I guess I believe I'm getting two different messages about moving the house back, but it could be that I'm talking to too many people. So I believe the Historic Commission initially said that I might be able to move the house back on the lot, but then in an email that I received from the chairperson, you, Michael, you indicated that I could not. Is that where we're at?
Well, I indicated that we would prefer not. But the problem here is that, we're sort of talking apples and oranges, because when we were talking about moving the house, we're talking about moving the existing structure. We're not talking about rebuilding it or replicating it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem. So we don't actually have the remit to approve these plans. We can only follow what the demolition delay bylaw says. And part of the issue here is that, we have the ability to preserve the existing structure. And in order to do what you're doing, you need to demolish the entire old structure to do this. Because this new building, and it is an entirely new building, is completely different than the old one. It might be of the same shape, but this is a high Georgian with a high hip roof, with gables, with a big pediment in front. It is completely different from the small federal house that is there previously. So when we were talking about,
it's somewhat semantics. So this, what I presented to you would, we are preserving front facade and the two facades. So we're going to use those facades.
well, but they're not preserved in these plans. And that is what I sort of communicated to you in my email. There's nothing about these facades that are similar. As a matter of fact, the materials are all different. The windows are all different. The window sizes are all different. I understand that there's a similarity to the house that's there previous, but when we talk about preservation, and again, this is our only remit, right? We are talking about preserving the current historical fabric of the town of Southborough. We can't, what we had suggested to you was that maybe you might want to look at, different ways to look at, say, preserving the current front facades and reworking the back so that there was a partial demolition on the back and the actual existing facades would be maintained on the front. Sort of like almost like a movie set on an old Western town, right? This, however, is an entirely different creature. This is an entirely rebuilt house, reimagined, and built of all new materials. And we can't approve that. Not that
But it's not though. I
don't know how it cannot be, because it has an entirely different roof. It has entirely different windows. They're double in size.
It's taller. It's taller, but the sides and the front are the same walls. I'm not going to preserve the windows as we talked about because the windows came from Harvey's probably around 1995. So if I've already given those windows away to Habitat for Humanity, but if the Historic Commission would like me to reuse those windows, I would consider it. We're going to use the same, and you talked about the entryway. That the entryway at my house now is it's the same hole, but it's not the same, woodworking or column or anything like that. There's nothing to preserve there. So what I'm preserving is the exterior walls and the front wall and the foundation, the granite step. Other than that, there's really nothing to preserve.
So it may very well be that some of the pieces of this are preserved, but this is an entirely different structure. It's different in scale. It's different in scope. It's different in look. The architect notes on here, Georgian dormers. It is in fact a Georgian. It looks very much like a little mini mansion of Colonial Williamsburg, as opposed to the sort of simple federal house that was here previously. We're also missing a good half of the extension to the left. Here, that again forms the principal part of the street facade. We had talked about. Let me just share my screen here. It might be helpful.
So what if the left portion of the house, what we're calling the left, which is the western part of the house, that's an addition. So I really don't want to preserve the addition. If the Historic Commission tells me I have to, well, I guess I can. But if you're willing to work with me on preserving the front part of the house, if there's something that you'd like me to do to make this look more federal as opposed to Georgian, I certainly can do that. I think that those two styles are very similar. And it really, sometimes it comes down to somebody will call something federal and it's really Georgian. So if you want to give me some design critiques as to what it is that you'd like, but the front door is almost a replication of what was originally at the house. I'm just using new materials because what's here now is you don't want me to preserve that.
So I don't know if you can see what can you guys see my little cursor running around?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think what we had talked about and what we had stated that what we wanted to try to do was preserve essentially this front facade in its current height and elevations and window structure, not necessarily with the same windows, but with the same window openings, with the same door, roof, etc. This very low sort of hip roof. I think what we had talked about was some demolition. It's hard to see from these plans, demolition of the rear here onto the left of this section of the house to make it smaller. I think you can see this better on the footprint here. This section here on the back and this section here, none of this really have to do with the front of the house. And so if it was the wish, Karen's wish to demolish these structures, I don't think we'd have a huge problem with that. But again, that's not what these plans show. I
guess, what do you mean by that, Michael? Because that's exactly what the plans show, unless maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
Well, so let's just say for simplification purposes, that what we're asking for is that the front of the house, maybe minus this gable this Victorian add-on, window seat thing, look exactly like it looks now, and that whatever happens in the back is up to you. I think that's what we're trying to communicate. What you've proposed with this very high-pitched roof, with the gables, with this big garage extension, that's completely different than what currently exists here now. So, what we're trying to get to a point is that, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase Potemkin Village, but I mean, this is sort of what we're trying to achieve. Is that
Hold on a second. So, and I'm saying this in an extraordinarily friendly, helpful way. What happens in these historic commissions is in one meeting, I'm hearing something, and then I go to my architects and my preservation people and my partners, and I said, this is what I heard, this is what we can do. And then I come back and I say, this is what I have. And then I'm hearing the exact opposite. And what I've started doing is going and listening to these meetings are recorded, which is quite helpful, isn't it? So then I go and I listen. In a meeting, it might not have been the last one, but certainly within the last two meetings, you made the statement that you don't want a Potemkin village in Southborough. So you're giving, whether it's your intention or not, I know it's not your intention, Michael. I've made the assessment that you're passionate about what you're doing, and that, and it's a world of service to Southborough, and I appreciate it. But I am getting mixed messages, specifically from you. So let's just have very clear communication. So this is going to be helpful to both of us. If you look at the bird's eye view of the drawings, it shows that what I'm preserving is the original footprint of the house. Is that something that the Historic Commission could approve or agree on?
I'm going to break this open to my colleagues here. And first of all, I just want to clarify this Potemkin Village thing. A Potemkin Village is not a compliment, because of course the story is that Potemkin, who was Catherine the Great's prime minister, built these fake facades.
Disneyland. I get it.
Yeah, fake facades on her travels so that she wouldn't have to see, anything unpleasant. So when I said, yes, we don't want to try to do that at this previous meeting, that's true. But, what I'm trying to get at here is that, all we really need to see is the preservation of the facades. And this plan that has been submitted does not preserve these facades at all. I know you keep saying it does, but preservation of them means to keep them the same, not to have.
And I think that, yeah, but here's the root of it. It's your opinion that it doesn't preserve the facade. It's the opinion of others, including mine, that it preserves the front part, the actual facade of the original part of the house. You are correct. It is a taller structure, but it is the exact structure that Moses Newton built in 1812, just using new materials. And Moses Newton probably was a gentleman, maybe no taller than 5'10". So, I would like a taller house that all family members of mine can come into. So that's not really necessarily historic preservation, but I'm looking to take the front part of the house and use that, and use the sides of the house, just make a taller house so that, right now I have a family member that doesn't fit into my house. So
I'm going to open it up to my other commission members here, but I'm going to just say, as my opinion, and this is one vote, that this plan as submitted is not historic preservation. This is a recreation of some imagining of this house that was there. I personally don't find it particularly historically accurate, but that's just me. But I have other folks here, and I'd like to call on each of you and give your opinion as to what you think about the process and where we are here. So Rebecca.
Okay, and just so you know, I agree with you, Michael. It's not preserving the scale of the house. It is reimagining the original house. It's taking the original house and bringing it into the 21st century.
Karen, you understand that we don't have that remit. Our remit is to preserve the existing structure. We can't simply say to people and say, oh, this looks better than what was there before, or this is a modern improvement, or this has, access. We don't have that power. We can.
I think you do. I think you do.
No, we don't.
We don't.
We do not. We absolutely positively do not. I mean, I wrote this bylaw, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And I also know what was objected to by the town folk. And we have very limited powers here. Essentially, you come to us with a plan to demolish a house. We decide whether the house is historically significant or not. If we vote it is, we go through this process. As part of the process, you have to be willing to put the house up for sale to make sure that no one else wants to buy it and destroy it, or buy it and live in it before it's demolished. Now, you've said you don't want to go through that process.
Well, would the historic commission like to purchase this house?
We don't purchase houses. So just if you let me.
You have in the past. Southborough has purchased historic homes.
Well, not the historic commission. I guarantee you, our budget's $2,500 a year. We're not purchasing anything.
Okay. Do you know of anyone other than a nonprofit that would like to purchase this house?
That would, so if you just let me finish for a second. The next steps, as we had indicated in the bylaw, to get this house demolished would be to put it up for sale at a fair market price and just prove that there's no one else interested in buying this house. If that is then the case, then at the end of the story, then you can demolish the house. That's how this goes. But we've essentially, if you don't put this house up for sale, we're done in terms of this demolition permit, because then it ends, because we don't have any more leeway. What we've been trying to do here is to prep you for a revised demolition renovation permit that would come down the road. We're trying to be helpful beyond our remit, but technically we cannot allow you to build a re-envisioning of the house. I mean, because if we did, everyone would be coming to us and saying, I want to reimagine, my house. And we'd be in the portion sort of like God makers here in terms of saying, we like this project. Oh, maybe add a turret. Well, we don't like this. We don't have that power. So, I mean, you're asking us to do something that we don't have the power to do. What we have the power to do is to say, do you want to go through this demolition delay bylaw as it's written, or do you not? And if you don't, here's what we can do additionally to help you. That's what we can do. But as I said, let's hear from our other folks here. I've talked way too much. Rebecca?
I agree, Michael. And I'm just curious, Karen, when you say preserve the facade, what do you mean by preserve? Because I'm curious to know if a complete demolition would happen of the house, if all the walls would come down, including the front walls, and be rebuilt with new materials in the same style, if that's what you mean by preserving the facade, or if you mean actually leaving portions of it standing and tearing down the back part.
The latter.
Okay.
So in this new plan, originally I wanted to build this house further back on the lot. And then I, through this process, learned that I can't do that. So then I went to two different architects, and they said, well, this is what this is what we believe you can build. Let's use the front and the sides of the original house. So, you peel away the siding, you peel away everything, you replace what's rotten or beetle bugged,
Mhm.
and you work with what's there.
So you would be talking about an extensive renovation rather than a demolition of the entire house?
That's what this new plan is, yes. Because I'm hearing from the Historic Commission that that's all I can do. At one point, I asked point blank, can I ever demolish my house? And the answer that I got very clearly was no, not unless I put my house up for sale. Is my understanding of that accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and I've said before, I have 3 people that perhaps from hearing these meetings have offered to buy my house. I don't want to sell my house, and I don't think that it would benefit the town if I were to sell it to the 3 individuals that have come forward. And that's only word of mouth. So in fairness, if I put the house on the market, maybe someone would come along and want to preserve it and overpay me, give me an incentive to move.
Kate? Oh, your mute's on there.
Sorry, I was unmuted for a while there. Hi, Karen. I can appreciate that it's complicated, but I do think it needs to be known that bottom line, we're beholden to the bylaw. And to me, when I look at these plans that I have up on the screen, the existing versus the proposed look very different. Not only the height, but the placement of the 2 stories of the windows, and then the addition on the garage versus the removal of the left side, as I'm looking at the plans of the left side of the house. So that's the difficulty for me, is that I think I've been very in support of and can appreciate that you want to remove some of the back additions that have probably made it a very large, ungainly house for you to live in. But similar to the house just down from you, closer to the old firehouse, it has been completely renovated and gutted, but it still looks the same now. I think that's what I'd be looking for in your plans, is for them to look more similar to what the front facade along the street looks like. And it just looks very, very different to me at this point.
Karen, I'll add, I think if you were to take these 2 comparisons of the current house and the new house to, 50 people and ask them, do they look the same? The answer would be no. It's, as much as I can appreciate, and I've done construction projects I've mentioned in the past, the desire to modernize the house and make it more accessible and higher and all that sort of thing. The thing that we're tied to is that the house facade must be the same. That would mean, in effect, leaving the wall in place and replacing windows and doors in the same openings, but the face of the structure would be there. Maybe the sides come down. Maybe if the garage was on the left and the side of the building looked like it does today, if you preserve that wall, put doors around the side where you don't see them. I'm making that up. I don't know if that would work architecturally or on the plot. But those are the kinds of things. If the facade wall of the front and maybe to the left were the same walls, same openings, and then other things were torn down, then you'd be into a partial demolition, but there's at least the structure of the original building wall that faces the street would be the same. Because this is a rebuild that does not look like the original. I think, as I said, 50 people, if you asked, would pretty highly come to the same conclusion.
Annie?
Yes. Hi, Karen. Thanks so much for joining us and your efforts to share and revise your plans here. So I actually think that, with the exception of the roof line, and, maybe the larger window openings, I actually think it looks pretty good. And, I keep going back to kind of what we're, as a commission, what we're tasked with the demolition. So I actually think that as a commission, our conversations should be focused more on what you're proposing to demo altogether, the left and the rear areas, and not so much the look of the the look of what you've proposed for the front. And, as far as the addition of the garage, we don't have any purview that I know of over building. So I kind of don't even think that should be part of the discussion, really. So I would like our commission to, talk further about the areas that you're planning to not rebuild or not not incorporate in your new plan.
Thank you, Annie. That's actually very helpful. And you have just articulated what I should have articulated, in previous meetings. What I really want from the Historic Commission is more direction. If you look at the plans that I have just submitted, for me, it's a talking point. So what can I do to alter the plans that I've submitted so that it's mutually agreeable? Is that a conversation the Historic Commission can discuss with me?
At this point, I don't know. I'm really torn about this because one part of me says that what we should do is vote to close this demolition delay permit because we're not actually going down the procedure set out by the bylaw. We've talked about, we've voted the house significant. We have talked about, we've gone back and forth about, the demolition. We've tried to be helpful with some suggestions. If you don't put the house on the market, then technically we're out. We write to the building commissioner saying this demolition permit is denied because the applicant doesn't want to follow the contingencies of the bylaw. If she would like to come back to you with some alternate proposal, we'll be happy to hear this. So, in some ways, I think by trying to be more helpful, we've kind of gotten ourselves into a ditch because, A, we're not set up to do this, and B, we're not really functioning within the defined parameters of this bylaw. Our remit is to say, you want to demolish this house, follow these instructions. If you do, you can. But that's not been the case here. We've stopped by not putting the house up on the market, and we've been trying to, spin through these various iterations. I don't think that's what we're here to do.
Okay.
And
well, I want to follow procedure. I certainly want the Historic Commission to, adhere to your rules and your mission. I by no means am looking for anything other than that. So if the correct protocol is to close the conversation and to send that, a letter closing it, then I think that's exactly what you should do, and I would commend you for doing so. I think the one sticking point that has never been clarified and what my architects and other advisors have asked is, if I knew what substantial was, I wouldn't even need to see the Historic Commission, because there is a part of me that wonders, maybe I can just remove the western part of the house and which is what I'm trying to do. Did we ever get clarification on what substantial is?
That's the next item on our agenda, and we are going to be formalizing that percentage. We already voted on it we have to re-vote on it again, simply because of conditions of the open meeting bylaw, open meeting law. So,
Okay,
so that what we said previously is what we're going to say again, unless there's some changes, but I don't think so.
but what did you say previously?
What we said previously was anything that affects more than 25% of the facade. And I misspoke during the last meeting about the windows and doors. And so that's something that we're going to clarify. Again, I want to make sure everybody on the commission is on board with this, because I convoluted the explanation sufficiently that it didn't make any sense. So
Okay.
I want to try to convert that back into, real English. But it's going to be anything that affects more than 25% of the facade, which would bring you back here again.
Okay.
With plans for demolition of the front facades and pieces like that. Essentially, if we can see it.
All right. And that just so you understand, Chairperson, that right there is an example of something that I think we as a community could do a little bit better. In our last meeting that we talked about substantial, you said that substantial would be somewhere between 25 and maybe 50% of the structure, but you hadn't voted on it yet. So I must have missed a meeting where you came up with the figure 25%.
We voted on it last time.
Okay. All right. So I missed that.
It was just a technical consideration that it hadn't been on the agenda, and it needs to be published on the agenda. So it needed to come for open meeting. So we came before we actually promulgated that. We came back again.
Okay.
We're going to do this evening.
And do these plans submitted before you, they would be submitted before you formalized the meaning of substantial?
Regardless of the meaning of substantial, I'm happy to vote on these plans now and ask my commission fellow members about, whether we would approve something like this. I don't think we have the remit, but you've already heard from all of us saying that this is not something that we're in favor of. So regardless of substantial or not, when we're talking about, removing, 3/4 of the front facing part of this house, that's a problem, that needs to be addressed. So, I think the way to do this is to make a motion now to close out this demolition permit, which was, after all, for total demolition of this house. Let you work with your architects to come back to come up with something that maintains more of the scale and size of this, regarding the front as we've advised, and then come back to us with requesting a permit for partial demolition of the rear, or however you want to try to figure that.
Can you take a red marker and write right over my plans? Because when I go back to the architects, they then listen to this and they say that we are preserving the front portions of the house. So are you saying that you want me to not make the house taller?
We're saying that what we want to see is the existing structure facades, which include the roof line, the window, size of the window openings, the general appearance of the front preserved. What happens in the back is not our remit. If we can see it from the street, we care. If we can't, we don't. I mean, that's essentially the process. And that's also, by the way, why I suggested in my email to you that the architect join us, because I think this would have been helpful to have them here, because they could ask questions directly to us so that there's not a third level of interpretation.
Right.
And, if you want to speak with them or have them join us for a next meeting, I'm going to make a motion now to close this out. But as
okay, but before you close it out, I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, because I just want to be very clear. Are you able to look at the drawings that were given to you and tell me, when you say if I can see it from the street. Now, the view of my house, most people notice my house when they're driving west to east. And when you're driving west to east, the part of the house that you see is all of the additions. But so can you be very clear and tell me what I can demolish in that regard? I want to make sure I demolish the right part of the house. That's number one. Number two, I did not ask my architects to come because I have to pay them per hour. They, on their own, on their own time, are watching this and then rewatch it on YouTube. So they find it interesting. So, but I did not want to hire them to come to listen to a meeting that apparently is fruitless, because I'm trying to work with the Historic Commission. I believe that you're trying to work with me, but I need to know exactly what part of the facade, what you call the facade. Is the rear the facade? Is the side the facade?
Well, part of the other issue is that it would have been really helpful if you had actually prepared the packet that we asked for, which was the pictures of all the different sides of the house keyed to a plot plan showing us, precisely, what's visible, what's not. That's part of the, I kept asking for the documentation for this, and it's come in these little spurts and pieces, which is fine, because we started this off a while ago. But in any event.
And you were not, Chairperson, there are things that I can do better and differently, and there's things the Historic Commission can do better and differently. And as I said before, and I'm going to repeat myself, I'm saying this in the most friendly, in a very positive manner. I'm not I am somebody that does extensive real estate developments in the Boston area, but this is my private home. I'm not bringing my architects and my attorneys and other people with me, because this is not an investment. This is my home. So, in hindsight, maybe I should have brought the architects, because they'd like you. They tell me how intelligent you are, and they're very intelligent.
That's sweet, but yes, you really should bring them, because we can't. What you're asking us to do is to function as your architects. We can't do that.
I'm not, though. I'm not, Michael.
Yeah. Listen. Yes, you are. When you ask me to mark up your plans, you're asking me to function as your architect, and that
I'm asking you to function as a historic vigilante, and I'm saying that with love. Take a red marker and tell me, if you want to frame it in the positive, tell me what you want me to preserve, and then from that, I'll know what I can demolish. So if you, just for right now, just so everybody can be on the same page. If we look at the plans where you can see the left of the house, is there any part of that I can demolish?
I just don't really, we need to see proposals. I just think there's all sorts of legal liability issues here. We can't go down this road. You need to come to us with professional proposals. What we've said repeatedly is that what you can see from the street, principal street facades, we want to try to have preserved. Now, you can see, you can see here. I don't know if you can see. Are you actually with us on video, or can you see us, or are you just on the phone?
Yes, I can.
Okay, let me just share the screen.
No, I can see you.
Okay, so let me share this screen. You can see here that there's whole sections in this house in the back that are not particularly visible from the street. This addition, however, which is this part of this house, is. and you can see where this is the secondary gable and all this stuff in the back. What we're talking about principally is this structure here, this addition, and the original front portion of this house, this roof line and these chimney structures. On the side, we're talking about this section here. We're not talking about this in the back at all. And I think if you came to us and, and said, this is a later addition and we want to get rid of this window thing, I don't, I'm one vote, but I certainly wouldn't object to that. But again, this is something that the professional architects need to do. And when I say to them, we say to them, we want to preserve intact the street facades. That's really not open to interpretation. And so,
Okay. Well, they think that they did, just so you know. So this will be good for them to watch.
okay, yes. So
What you just,
that's not how, preservation is not reconstruction or, preservation of, 5 sticks.
okay, but,
Okay.
all right.
All right. So I think for tonight, I'd like to wrap this up. I'd like to put a motion in front of the commission to close out our deliberations on the complete demolition permit with the expectation that we will be hearing again from Ms. Connell with a different type of proposal that is some sort of partial demolition and renovation in the front structure, and that we would so write to Lori Litterly. In view of the fact that Ms. Connell's adamant about not selling her house, which I can see why, it's a lovely house. Are we in general agreement with that? Okay, so let's take a roll call. Ms. Deans-Rowe,
Yes.
Ms. Battles,
Yes.
Ms. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mr. Blaschke.
Yes.
We've lost Amanda. What happened to her?
No.
Okay,
The
well,
children.
I guess so. Something happened. We've lost her, but we still have quorum, so it's fine.
So the next procedure is to go back to the building department, correct? And the building department will decide whether it's a substantial demolition of the facade that triggers a demo delay. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I mean, Karen's next thing would be to go back to our architects and figure out what she wants to do, and then re-propose this. And Karen, before you go through the whole thing with the building inspector, we're happy to give you an informal read on this, again, to try to help before you go down this process. But again, it's just informal, it's just advisory. But we're trying to help here, but we can't do what we can't do.
Yeah, I have great respect for that. I really do. It's, maybe I'm trying to put a square peg in a round hole. But I am confused now. So you're going to close out this portion of it, and I will apply for a partial demolition permit. And then building inspector will determine whether she has the authority to grant that based on substantial or not.
You'll need to, this time you'll need to supply her with detailed plans, architectural plans of what you want to do, and then she'll make that determination.
Okay, so it's in her court now. Once I apply.
It will be once we send this back to her and say, yeah, it's in her court. So you're keeping in mind that if 25% or more of the front facades go, this will come back to us. So we really want to try to maintain those front facades and limit the demolition to the back sections of the house that I've kind of swung my cursor around here for you, which is about as far as we can go legally with that. Okay? All right.
Right, thank you.
Thank you
Lovely,
for joining
lovely
us.
chatting with all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Michael, I'm not sure you voted on that one ticket. I didn't get your.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I vote yes. I vote yes. Okay. Would you like to take a 5-minute recess, or would you just like to move on? I see one big nodding head.
Yeah, I would love to use the restroom and get some more water.
Okay, so let us just, without, what does it say? Without objection, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll be right back. Okay, stop video.
Jim, you're a trooper.
You are a trooper.
I would,
Agreed.
truth be told, I would be up this late anyway, so.
Oh, you're a night owl. I'd have my head on the desk.
I'd be here. I'd be with you here too. That's always the. That's
No,
all.
you night owls, not me.
Yeah, 1 or 2 in the morning. I now have to get up a lot earlier because my dog wakes me up at literally every day. I don't know how he does this, but every day at exactly 9:03.
Oh,
Hmm.
9. I'm up at like 6.
Yeah,
9.
don't see 6,
I
9.
can relate, I relate to 9 better.
Yeah, 9, 10.
I mean, I'd love to
Sometimes.
wake up at 9 or 10, but that doesn't happen here at the old Battles household.
Yeah, I bet. Okay. All right. Well, I've been called many things, but never a preservation zealot.
In a loving way.
In a loving way. She's a nice lady.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see, back here to the agenda.
Demo delay regulations.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. So I am going to come back and share my screen here again because I can illustrate to you very easily what the problem was. So let's see, share screen. I'm getting back into the swing of this. Here we go. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
With you.
Okay. So back here, just to use this as an example. Okay, so last time I talked, I misspoke, and we had said that the significant was going to be defined as more than 25% of a change to the house facade, excluding the windows and doors. And what I meant to say was that the windows and doors are excluded from consideration of change, but not the percentage. Now that, in other words, windows, you can change out your windows and doors regardless, but they're not excluded from this percentage. And the reason why is this. If you take the windows and doors out of the overall facade, you're already removing about 50% of the facade or 30% or whatever. So a 25% change on the remainder would make that any change practically subject to this as significant. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because suddenly the percentage is infinitely tinier of number of square feet and the percentage of that. So a hole in the roof could potentially trigger this level of significant. So the equation has to be for the entire facade itself, including the windows and doors, with the understanding that the windows and doors can always be upgraded for energy efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. So as I said, the last time I misspoke on that. And do I have this in front of me? No, that's not it. Okay, I can come back to you now. Stop the share. Do we have that documentation?
Is it the guidelines?
Yes.
You emailed
Or the
us?
bylaw.
Yes.
You sent it in our email.
Did I send it? Oh, okay. I just sent that to you. Okay, great.
You sent it.
Wasn't I good and organized, guys?
You were excellent.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah, you get a little packet here.
I love a packet. I feel so official.
Okay, now if only I can find the packet. Okay, I've sent so many emails to all of you about all sorts of things. I can't find the email.
You sent it on Wednesday at 12. Oh, that's today. Oh boy. No, today's Thursday, isn't it? Well, anyway.
That's helpful. Keep going, Kate. That's really great.
I can't even, you guys. I can't even tell you about my life. I sent it on Wednesday. If that helps, you find it.
Hang on. I'm just going to send it because I said, okay. Old Bear Ground. Okay, wait.
Oh my.
Don't. We're going to try to get there. Hang on. I'm going to try to land this plane as soon as we can. Hang on, everybody. We're over the hump. Please find. Oh my God. Documents for tomorrow.
No, that's the
Okay.
one.
Okay, so we voted on this already. And when I sent this to Mark Purple, he said, uh-oh, you didn't put this on your agenda. And he said to me, this can't be included in the other business of the commission. And
Right.
I said, why? And he said to me, it can't be included in the other business of the commission because of open meeting law. Everything has to be published. And then, of course, we got a notice from Jim Haggerty saying pretty much the same thing.
Yes.
So we put it back here again. So nothing has changed and I just wanted to correct that I had misspoke in the last meeting because now, as you can see, we're being recorded and put on YouTube. So you have to be very careful what you're saying. So anyway, so these are the rules, and then we will now send this back out again. We did send this to the Board of Selectmen. I heard nothing back from anybody. We did send this to the Planning Board. I heard nothing back from anybody. I sent this to Lori Lively. I heard nothing back from her either. So
Has Aldo looked at it?
Aldo has looked at it and approved it before we sent it out the last.
Oh, okay, I wasn't here last time, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, so to bring you up to speed. So yes, he looked at it. And what he said was that this language is fine and that we would probably at some point want to go back in when we are amending or to amend the bylaw to include this language
Okay,
officially and put it in front of town meeting.
makes sense.
So Michael, I would advise that we also send it to the town clerk's office for them to have this on file if people come into them. He had suggested that we do that at some point. And I think the commonly asked questions are great because I hear these kinds of questions from people all the time. So I think it's a nice like bulleted list for people. So I think we should send that into the town clerk as well.
And we did, this is actually up now, a version of this is up on the town website.
Great.
Under the Historical Commission. So this will be handed out to everyone who applies for a demolition delay bylaw, a demolition delay, excuse me, I'm getting tired.
A demolition permit.
Everyone, a demolition permit of any kind or duration will get one of these little things so that no one can say they weren't informed about this law or that they didn't understand what was going on. Oh,
I think that's great. This is great.
I see you all drinking. I'm having a little Diet Coke here.
Well, I think it's very succinct, and I like I said, I like the bullet questions that are sort of the commonly asked questions. I think it's great.
Okay, so to make this official, we will again entertain a motion to adopt this as our official policy.
Michael, if we could, before we do.
Oh,
So
yep.
just
Questions.
to be, that's right, just to be clear. So we're talking about adopting this guideline sheet, correct? The one page.
Yes.
And approving that language, fine.
Yep.
So we do have in that 25% reference, and I'm looking for it here, as determined by the square footage of said facade. So that means that an alteration that would change size of the windows would count towards it at 25%. So I'm looking at Karen's drawings, for example, where the windows are in the same place, but they got longer.
Yes. Yes.
The shutters came off. Does that count or not? I mean, there's those kinds of considerations you consider. How do you calculate the 25%?
Well, so, one of our questions is replace my windows or doors without altering the openings. And that is the definition of replacement windows, is that they go in the same openings, obviously. It's unbelievably expensive, by the way, and if you've ever done it, I think Jen probably you might have, to alter the openings of structures. I mean, they have to be reframed. It's just, it's a nightmare. So, so we addressed that, saying that the replacement exemption is within the existing openings.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, but the 25% would include a proposal, for example, to enlarge the windows. So you would count that additional opening space as part of the 25, right?
Well, if you Well, if the alterations were sufficient to trigger the 25%, I mean, for instance, I think if you put in a French door in that front facade, and instead of one of those windows, you probably would not trigger that threshold.
Right.
But if you put in 5 French doors, you would trigger that French threshold.
And I think, I mean, when I look at Karen's drawings more carefully and take away the shutters, and so, you know, if there originally were shutters there, do we expect that to count towards a change or not? There's going to be something about how the appearance.
Well, I
is
don't
altered.
think shutters are considered a permanent part of the facade. I mean, shutters come and go, having just replaced them myself. I mean, they're not permanent features of the house. They're often added and subtracted.
Right.
We can put in a question about shutters. We can just stick in another question there. You know,
Well, I'm not trying to delay this more than necessary, but on the other hand, if I look at the drawings that Karen presented before and after, if I ignore the shutters and look at strictly the footprint of the original front of the house, not the extensions around the side, just she matched the width of the building, but it looks very, very different because the roof is higher, there's dormers up there that you didn't have, and the windows don't have shutters anymore. But if you were to say that the calculation is of the net square footage that's changed, that has to be within 25%, including the outline of the roof. I mean, there may be some questions about how we calculate 25. I'm just trying to
well,
anticipate
I mean,
that.
the you know, in that particular case, the roof alone would have shot that above the change portion, because essentially you take that entire percentage of the roof and it's completely rebuilt with a different angle and all, you know, all sorts of stuff. And you would have counted the window opening enlargements as part of that percentage as well, plus the alterations to the front door, the columns, and all the little bits and pieces. You know, again, I don't think that, I'm hoping that it doesn't have to get this specific in the sense that, you know, that we're not counting down, that these are just general guidelines. Because again, in all the time that this has been going on in the last 5 years, we've never really had, it's just this last year that we've had these issues with these very specific questions. Because generally people said, okay, well, you know, it's demolition or it's not, it's, you know, it's pretty clear. This is mainly a method to avoid legal problems for the town.
Yep.
And for us, you know, going forward, so that we're clear about this. If you do something differently, okay, you know.
Michael,
Well, that's exactly what I see. Considering how we were bantering, you know, playing a lot of ping pong with definitions, and I think, and they think, and all that in this last few rounds on 15th Main, that's exactly what I want to avoid. I'd like it to be as formulaic as possible, so that it's an easy number to either meet or not meet the threshold. The second thing is there's no language here that reminds people that the preservation means leaving the existing wall in place. Because I think that was the other thing. Well, look, I'm rebuilding the house. It looks a lot like what you had before. If knocking the wall down in and of itself, you know, that's 100% demolition of the facade, no matter how you rebuild it. So
and I think
maybe some clarification about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned that Karen could interpret that as being rebuilding it, you know. So,
well, I mean, that
she clarified that, but I mean, it is, people use the word preserve loosely sometimes.
Excuse me.
That's okay. I had another question about who's charged with determining whether it's 25% or not. Who does that calculation?
Building inspector,
That's what I would think.
Building commissioner.
building department. Yeah.
So,
Building department.
and they will need some guidance on that, I assume.
Yes. 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 So what I've offered to them is essentially a quick turnaround service, you know, that I or any of us could do to get a hold of us, to, you know, to bounce, if they have just even the slightest question, to bounce it off us, and we'd get back to them within 2 business days. simply so that we, it's a pain. Really, we're not in that business, but it's better than dealing with things like 45 Highland. So I'd rather just intercept this stuff at the gate and just say, hey, if you have a question about it, we'll answer what we think. This is our interpretation. What do you think? Kind of thing. Or can we take a look at it? Or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just trying to avoid possible confusion. And to the degree that we can spell this out. And part of the process is that every single iteration of this, we find that there's another tiny little hole. And that's true of anyone who's ever been in business and has formulated a contract. You never have a contract that covers every single piece. And your contracts are always evolving because it's like, oh, next time I'm going to be sure to talk about that. So I think this is a decent start on this. And again, one of the things that the Board of Selectmen asked was that we be proactive about, defining this stuff, getting this information, asking them, what they think. So yay, whole new day.
Yeah, I like that.
As Marty said to me, it's a brand new board. And I said to him, so is ours. So it's like a brand new day. Okay, so moving things on here, I'm going to entertain a motion to revote this for open meeting purposes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other questions before we begin? Nope.
The question would be if we added a comment about clarification comment about shutters, does that mean we have to revote this? Because I don't want to ask to do that if we're going to put off.
No, I don't think so.
We can say as amended that we can just, we made the motion as amended with Michael adding a comment about shutters.
Okay, and the comment will be if I replace my shutters, ? It's adding, and so the answer would be no. So we're just going to stick another little line in there. So as amended, that is the motion.
Yep.
Okay, so I got a first from Kate, and who seconded?
I think me and Rebecca.
Annie. Okay. All right. So revoting. Kate.
Yes.
Annie.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Yes. By the way, I heard it by text from Amanda. Oh, and Waisan, yes. I heard by text from Amanda that they're having some outage there for Zoom. So she got knocked off and that was the end of the story. So she'll try to get back to us if she can. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Microsoft Word, where are you? Where's the agenda?
The old burial ground.
Old burial ground.
Old burial ground.
Okay, I do need to see the agenda though. Okay, well, I don't know where the agenda went. That's all right. You can just tell me what's next. You can tell me. You keep us on pace.
I'll keep you on.
Okay, old burial ground. Okay, so, boy. So we got some problems in the old burial ground. This process that the CPC paid for this last go around didn't seem to do very much, that we spent $8,000 for, because these stones are tilting over, several fallen over. Some of them have been knocked over by the trees, which are in unbelievably wretched condition because they can't get machinery in there.
Right.
Michael, I feel like we spent way more than $8,000.
No, I don't think
No?
we did. I may be wrong. So that proposal, Rebecca sent me the proposal that I sent to you all. That was the expensive proposal
Right.
that didn't get
Like the original proposal, I think, was for like $23,000, but then they needed to go with, they were advised to go with, Kate Madison was advised to go with the lowest proposal, maybe from Neil Larson for like 8. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
So this proposal was the one that we should have taken. And as it turns out, these proposals are like apples and oranges. I think. I haven't seen the full details of the first one, but I don't know. In any event, so we need to find the original proposal, which I don't have. CPC might have it. Rebecca, you didn't dig it up in Kate's stuff, did you?
To be honest, I didn't look yet. I'm doing my
Okay.
annual appeal right now. So.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so
I can ask Freddie if she has it. What year was this from? 2018?
17 maybe.
Okay, I can ask.
Okay, because something's wrong in Graveland, because I don't see much having been done there, and stuff wasn't stabilized. Certainly not the proposal the secondary $23,000 proposal, because the stones would have all been cleaned, all of them would have been straightened and uprighted. I mean, so we have that issue. We also have the issue of the tree care. So I had a lovely conversation with Karen Galligan, who always remains one of my favorite people here at the head of the DPW. And she tells me there's been really no tree assessment there at all in quite a while. They do what they can do without getting machinery in there. They don't necessarily know that they have the budget to do anything this year, but if you've been in there, there's like piles of branches, major hanging dead limbs. And the other factor is none of the trees have been replaced. And part of the issue is they haven't been replaced because they're afraid of digging trees and digging up people. Because a lot of the graves are unmarked. During the 1938 hurricane, a lot of the stones were knocked over and they didn't have the money to fix them. So they put them in the back of a dump truck and dumped them in the new burial ground. And so many, many stones are missing. I told Karen, however, that we actually have the ground radar for a lot of those places. And also that we know the historic locations of trees that have come down that are on the plans that are no longer there. So I think that there could be some replanting initiatives. And also if we took just very small trees that only are foot deep in the ground, for root balls, that we could start a replanting process there. I don't think we need to spend much more time on this tonight, but I think we need to do some investigation. And Annie, maybe you could pull that proposal from the CPC and we'll look at that to see if we have any recourse there, because I don't see that was terribly successful.
Michael, I have Kate's files here. It was the $23,000 proposal from Kai, I think his name is, in New Hampshire. He was the one who did the work. It was $23,000 that was voted on at town meeting. I'm 99.9% sure. And I have the W-9 form that he filled out for the town.
Yeah, but I'm almost sure that what happened is they did vote for that. And then Mark Purple told us we couldn't take that proposal because they had another one for $8,000. I remember Kate coming
I'm
back.
sure it was.
Isn't it Neil Larson?
Neil Larson did the historic district for downtown.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Kai is the one who did the
Sorry.
the graveyard proposal.
Well, in any event, the CPC folks would have the amounts checked out. So let's find out. I'm 100%, not 100%. I'm 90% sure that because I remember having Kate Madison being very disgusted about the fact that we couldn't take this proposal and that we had to go to someone else. So pretty sure, could be wrong, but we'll see. In any event, so I just want to put this on our radar that we need to come back to this. We may need to come back to get some CPC funds at some point to do some sort of tree assessment or work with the town to get this into the town budget or our budget or some budget. Because what has to happen is that we need an arborist to come and look at all these trees, tell us what work needs to be done, and then a lot of them that will have to be climbed, because they can't do it with machinery in there. That's not a difficult thing. It's costly. But we've lost a substantial amount of tree cover. A lot of the trees there are in their senescence, and we're going to be facing, what we're facing in general, which is, a lot of missing trees in town. So that's something that needs to be thought about. But the only action item for now is to find out what the original proposal was for the gravestone.
I have it. I'm sending it to you right now.
But you did find it? The second one?
It's dated. This is the CPC application. Is that what you wanted?
No, I want to find out who ultimately was paid.
I would think it would be the person we have the W-9 for, but yeah.
Excuse me.
Michael, I would also say that going, later down the road, the planning board is enthusiastic about trees and planting trees. And we've become part of the Tree City USA program the town of Southborough has. So the planning board might be an advocate for us too in that endeavor, or at least be worth informing them, about our goals for the burial ground and the trees in there.
Well, yes, funnily enough, this leads into discussion of these scenic roads and the trees. So I was actually taking a walk down one of the scenic roads. I've been down on Vickery in a while because I've been walking the dog on other ways. And I saw these little medallions hanging on the trees about saying these trees were going to be cut down. And they're these beautiful, medallions, these incredible trees. One was the hickory. So I immediately scurried home and, tap, 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 tap to Karen. It's like, oh my God, we've got to save these trees. It's like these are historic trees. There was a meeting, which we didn't know anything about.
So sorry, now that I can inform you all.
Yes, that we didn't know anything about. Kate did, about the,
Tree hearing.
The trees, there's a tree hearing process. Who knew? And so, well, Kate Battles. I've asked now to have us be included in this.
Right.
We have a list of scenic roads. Can anyone name any of them?
I could from planning board maybe, but.
Well, Mount Vickery is one of them. There's about 8 or 9 who were voted in 1975. I can tell you right now. Gilmore, Sears, Chestnut Hill, Lover's Lane, Pine Hill, Mount Vickery, Breakneck Hill, Middle Road, Oregon, and Edgewood. And supposedly that this gives them some special protection. So in any event, it's something that I think we do want to work more with the planning board with.
Well, and because the planning board also doesn't want it to just be the tree hearings, I believe they have proposed that they not be exclusive to scenic roads, but to a lot of other roads as well, because the scenic road list hasn't been updated. So it's definitely a great thing to get on their radar because they're really passionate about the trees and maintenance of the trees. So I think that they would be great, a great sounding board for us in those discussions as well.
Absolutely. And I did include Don in that discussion.
Yeah.
And
He's passionate about it. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I just, I think we just want to, taking a more holistic approach to historic preservation. It goes beyond the buildings. It includes the roads, it includes the quality of life, it includes the open space, back to our combined efforts kind of thing. So fortunately, by the way, I am happy to report that tree number 3 and 6 are only going to be pruned. And not going to be taken down, including that incredible.
You should read my notes.
I'm not reading the planning board minutes. I have enough trouble, keeping up here.
They're only like 8 or 9 pages long usually.
Oh my God, yeah. Anyway, Amanda's back. Hi. Okay, so.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so that was the only thing I had to say about that, is that we're going to need to go back into the old burial ground stuff. And, we did, the Historical Society, just as you probably all know, did actually plant 3 of the new trees around the museum, 3 new additional elms. So I was also talking to Karen about, trying to get some more trees on the town common. The replacement trees that the state brought in are just kind of blingity, 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 blingity down, down Route 30. If you've seen pictures of that space, the monument was shrouded in beautiful, huge, the whole thing was shaded. And it's a lovely place to sit. And people used to sit there all the time, and people still do now, but now you just get baked out. So I think that, a little more tree coverage in that part of the world wouldn't be remiss in general. So anyway, all right. So since I don't have the agenda, what is the next step on this?
I think it's just other business properly before the board.
Really? Did we go through every one of those points?
Yes, we did.
Oh my God, we are just cranking along here.
You, Kate.
So it's me. All right, I promise to be quick. So yes, first of all, now that I know that it's a good goal, I will happily at our meetings give you guys a little bit of an update on stuff I know from planning board, master plan, and SHOPC. So I'll do that. Now, as far as treasurer stuff, I just paid a internet bill, so that's nothing new. But then about 2 weeks ago, I did meet with Brian Ballantyne, Paul Sibeli. Unfortunately, Mark Purple was booked at a personnel meeting, and I discussed our budget for fiscal year 22. I requested, so we have been for the past couple of years at a budget of just 2,500. A number of years ago, we were at 3,500. So I requested, understanding that this is a pandemic, this is not necessarily an ideal year for an increase, but if it was possible, I proposed that they increase us to $3,500. And I explained that it was basically because the bulk of our budget right now is going towards our internet. I did tell them that now I've been the treasurer for, I don't know, I think 4 years, maybe 5. So I said I have a pretty solid understanding of what we need to spend our money on. We're at about 1,200 on the internet, 100 on water, about 100 on office supplies, which is just basically some ink, some paper, some stamps. The outreach for our historic sign program was about 900 and about 1,200 right now for recording secretary services. What I can tell you is that before Tom LaFlame left, he had requested a proposal, which will forward along to whoever takes his job as far as our internet. And I believe it will cost upfront about $3,000 to get us hooked up. And then we wouldn't pay internet anymore. So I had a great discussion with Brian Ballantyne about that. So I feel confident that that is something that they're going to want to resolve. I just can't promise that that will happen right now. And then as far as recording secretary services, because that's kind of an issue that's been coming up across a lot of boards, that might be something that they bring me back to talk about. You know, we had a great conversation. I haven't gotten approval or anything on that. I'm sure it's still in discussion, but as soon as I hear feedback from Brian and the group I met with, I will keep you all informed.
I'm sorry, approval for what?
For the budget, like whether or not that they're going to support that $3,500 or not.
Do they have a choice? I mean, don't we actually make the thing and then we just go fight it out at town meeting?
No, they will offer their support or not, and then we can fight it out at town meeting.
I see.
And that internet conversion of $3,000, did they describe why it's so expensive? I mean, that sounds like you're buying a whole lot of infrastructure. Firewall.
I actually, this is nothing new. I've had this proposal, unfortunately, on my desk for like 6 months. I cannot get it over the goalpost. I spoke to Marty Healy about this. Sam has been working on us with this.
I've talked to people about it for quite a while, for at least 3 years as well. So
Well, and I've even offered the Historical Society to pitch in some of our budget to go to do this.
Yeah. Well, but I think I've never met before this board to discuss our budget. And so I think the fact that I was able to meet with Brian and Paul and talk about it, and Tom popped in a bit. So, and they understand that we're paying $1,200 when, in just under 3 years, it could be paid for. So, and I think that conversation resonated. So I have faith that over the next year or two, we're gonna be in a good position there.
Well, yes, and also we're dangling $1,000 donation to help pay for this. I mean, this should be a no-brainer.
I think the only complication right now is just the pandemic, and that and that every budget is in a crunch right now. But like I said, it was a great conversation, and I think we're headed in the right direction. Like I said, I've never met with them face to face to discuss the budget. So, and they know that I work for the town in various capacities, and so it was very productive. So I will keep you updated.
Okay.
And then
Hey, I'm sorry, Jim.
Go ahead.
was gonna say, the reason I was asking the question about it, I mean, I'm not an IT guy, but I've been involved in IT kind of stuff for a long time. And I'm not clear, or maybe I just like to see the proposal. I'd be interested in why it costs $3,500 to cut over.
Well, 3,000 was the proposal,
Right.
and
3,000.
I
Why it's not 600? That's my question. Is there any proposal that details how they're doing that? Because that might be worth some looking at.
no,
I'd be
I
happy to.
didn't. I do not know that, and I definitely would not be able to speak to that.
I can. Actually, the proposal I got before this was 2,000 to 2,500 to make the connection. It needs a wireless access point, a network switch, fiber interface modules, and some contract technician time to install and test the equipment. On the face of it, this means the break-even point is about 2 years.
All right, so all of that gear, unless you're buying top-end stuff, is maybe $1,200.
Well,
Now,
that's
maybe
what
the technicians are expensive. You know, and I'm not trying to. You know, maybe it's not worth fighting over $1,000 or whatever it's savings, but it just seems like.
Well, you know, it is because the service is crappy. I wouldn't mind spending $1,200 if the internet service there were actually decent, but it's absolutely crappy.
And you don't need fiber interface. You don't need fiber interface modules to do email. You can get by with Cat 6 or 7. That's the point. They're talking about high-end IT infrastructure, like we're going to be pumping huge files around. You don't need fiber for that. That's what you put in a data center.
Well, we do pump a lot of files around. I will honestly say. I mean,
no, Michael. I'm talking about Netflix kind of streaming is when you need.
Oh no. I mean, I'm talking.
Your home network wiring is good enough for this kind of stuff.
Well, and the other crazy thing is we have the fiber cables. They're in there to the townhouse already. We have the connection in the museum. They're there. It just needs someone to hook the bloody things up. You know,
Then I'm even more confused about why it's expensive.
You know, at this point, I would be willing to hire a private contractor to do this and just, you know, just get it as.
Well, not out of the historical commission budget because we don't have it.
Well, I'm the one with the professing the burr under my saddle. Would you like me to kind of look into it and figure out who's proposing to do what? And see if we can't cut it down.
You know, I would love to, because of course this is all Greek to me.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, and you know, I don't know when we're going to get a new IT guy, but you know, hopefully, or gal, hopefully that'll be fairly soon, and that we can, you know, get this done. Because that was my question to Tom. I said, this seems awfully expensive. Can't we just go out and buy this equipment, you know, or find it used or whatever? Because, you know, this stuff just, you know, appears all over the place. And I never got an answer back about that. So, yeah, I mean, I really think that there are ways to make this forward. And you know, as I said, the society would be willing to come forward and help with this. You know, I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, it was a great conversation, and really, they heard our concerns. So
no, they're great folks. They're all great folks. Yeah.
They definitely did.
We'll get this resolved. I mean, fortunately.
May I ask a quick question, just because I'm new and I don't really know the background here? So do all commissions and town committees have similar internet charges, or is
no? It's because we're a separate building, Annie. We have the museum.
Oh, okay. So. Okay, I guess I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, we have it's the internet for the museum.
So is it so like, do people have like offices there, and like, do you actually like work from there and stuff like
that? In pre-pandemic, all our meetings were there.
Okay.
We have an archivist that will do some work there, all that. Great. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful to know.
Yes, and we have our senior citizens,
right,
tax folks that work there, and the historical society is there. All our records are there, and it's a town building.
Right.
So we're trying to get the budget of this back into the town, you know, infrastructure, as opposed to having it come out of the commission's budget.
Right. Right.
I mean, crazily enough, however, we still do have to pay for the water.
But yeah, it's true. But all the like Board of Health does too. You know, yes.
The good news is that unlike all these other folks, we actually have our own building to meet in, and so we never have lack for a meeting space. As a matter of fact, we share it with trails and open space, and planning hasn't met there, but conservation has. The Board of Selectmen have met there, you know, folks. So, you know, it's one of those things. It's within 3/4 of an inch of getting over the yard line. And
we're getting there. I think we're even closer since I finally met face to face. So Come on, fingers crossed, stay
And of-
positive. I'm
and of
working
course-
on it.
It's the face that launched 1,000 internet connections.
Oh, I'm working on it, people. All right, I have one other thing.
Okay.
So that I submitted to Bob Leonard, our artisan who does the signs, 2 of our properties for our sign program. Just Michael, I need you to get back to me about that house on Gilmore. About what we determined would be a great name for that house, so I can order their sign for them. They're super excited about it. You know how it has like 7 million names?
Is that the Oland house? The
Yes.
Walter Oland house.
Yeah. So can I task you to come up with a lovely name for me so I can order that sign for them?
Yeah, I think it'll probably have to be something like the sign for my house. It'll have to be something like the Walter Oland house. Also, home of Burnett, da 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 da.
And I do have Bob giving me some templates for the other signs that we had discussed, like more of a biographical sign as well. So when I have those, maybe for our next meeting, I'll let you guys know.
That would be great, because the other thing is, when we, get past this pandemic stuff, JDP has offered to help pay for this, walking tour process.
Yes.
I've tasked Rebecca as our sort of director of outreach to begin this process of hopefully getting these placards done with this walking tour of one end to Main Street to the other.
We have some lovely suggestions. We talked at length before Thanksgiving, and we discussed that we'll get back together talking about it, around now. So ahead of our next meeting, I'll probably have some more feedback and maybe some templates to share with you all.
Perfect. Rebecca, one last question. Whatever has happened with the historic National District Register thing?
Still underway. It takes a very long time. The last time I checked in, it could take another year.
What's taking so long? I mean,
I-
we paid those folks, cake.
Right, so they submit it, and then it gets submitted. MHC submits it to the federal people, and the federal people.
But where is it in the process? Do we know?
I'll follow up with them and find
Okay.
out. But last time I
Find
did, it
out,
was,
'cause our dear Kate was handling all that, and we
Yes.
totally lost track. And it's been 2 years. And
Yeah.
we paid those folks all that money.
let me see if I can find the email. And I also just shared a link. Thank goodness for my Southborough, because they keep track of everything we do. The headstones repair, when the work was done, they did a story on it, and they tell who did it and all of that. So
So is it the people that worked for the $23,000?
yeah, actually, it came out to 26,450. It was supposed to be 2 phases of work in first year, and then another 26 stones in the second year. And I don't know if that second year,
Did that ever get done?
I don't know. 63 headstones were repaired, straightened, and cleaned in the first year, and another 26 handled in the second year.
Well, I don't know. Annie, let's find out what's going on with that, because whatever happened there, whoever did it, I don't
And
know.
when I went through, when it was done, they did look straight, but I was there, they've sunken again.
Well, I've read that proposal, and according to this, they were supposed to be stabilized with gravel, dug out, straightened, leveled, all this and that. I don't see that any of that, got done. So,
No, I agree.
okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you on this season of holidayness, ho 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 ho, for this very long meeting, and your patience and your participation. It's the last time we'll see each other in this year of happiness and mirth. I want to wish you all a wonderful holiday season, such as it is, and wishes for health and prosperity, but mostly health, and hope that we can all move forward into a better 2021 as soon as possible.
Can't be worse. It can't be worse, can it?
Oh yes, it can always be worse. It can always be worse. But
Thank you,
my
Michael.
sincerest holiday greetings to you all, and a huge thanks for your time, for your generous work here. I know it's not always fun. I know this isn't exciting. Always, sometimes it's exciting, but I think we're doing a really good job, and I think we've made a huge contribution to the historic character of Southborough. So I want to thank you. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, happy holidays.